we got a problem with this radiator. This is that Osmich radiator off eBay. Now, I like the radiator. It seems to be well made for what I paid for it, but there is definitely a problem in the way they manufactured it. They have these mounts too far away from the radiator. Okay? Now, you don't want a gap in here. If you have a gap in here, you're going to be sucking air out from under the shroud instead of sucking it through the radiator. Yeah, look at a gap there. That gap ain't so bad. I had to put that much of a filler strip in the radiator. See, I had to put a filler strip in there. Now, I didn't mind putting a filler strip up here. This I didn't mind because I'll tell you what, there is a lot of radiators out there right from the factory that have that filler strip in there. In fact, some of them have a filler strip in the bottom. But look how thick of a filler strip I had to put in it. That's unreal. If I'm buying a radiator from somebody, I expect the dimensions to be better than that. This is too far away. That should have been closer. So that means that this fan shroud is tipping, the fan shroud is tipping outward. Well, it'll work, but having that big of a gap right from the way, buying it and finding that big of a gap, that's not right. That's not, the part ain't fitting like it should. Now, I suppose there was a lot of people that didn't care, bought the radiator for the looks, and they just stuck it on. But I use this to pull a heavy trailer, and the reason I bought the radiator was to get better cooling. I just ran into another problem with this Osmich radiator. Here is the lower radiator hose. The lower radiator hose is at least 2 to 3 inches, more like 3 inches, too short. So the radiator, the new Osmich radiator, it is, sets lower. In fact, it sets so low that the hose, if you can see the outlet of it down here, is very close to the same distance as the sway bar. If you have a second gen Explorer, I have a 2000 Explorer XLS, 2-wheel drive, and you bought one of those aftermarket prefab radiators, and you notice that the radiator hangs down too low on the bottom, and the original hose won't fit, and you contacted the company and you asked them what hose fits it, and they basically just told you to get lost because that's not their problem. It took me a long time to figure out the hose. Look at this number. See that? Okay, so I cut an end off it on that. This is a used hose, okay? I cut that end off that end, and I cut this end off of this end, okay? Now, the problem this is the original hose. The problem that you have is this bend is too long. See, this hose needs to be shorter, and then there's a sway bar that you have to miss, okay? And then this is too short because the radiator outlet now sets not down that far, much more, okay? Now, I cut that short of a piece off the one end, the side towards the radiator. I cut this long of a piece off the end at the water pump to come up with this. And I know by looking at it, you're thinking, there's no way that's going to fit. Oh, just wait. If you look down below, you'll see the hose that I found does fit. It fits one of these fabricated radiators. Now here it is from the bottom. And as you can see, that hose does clear the sway bar. There it is on the radiator. There it is, mounted on the water pump, and it fits. Got one thing to say. There's been a lot of people trying to find a hose that fits this. If you want to be helpful, send me a big thank you. My address is 807 4th Street North, Central City, Iowa, 52214. Send me a thank you, send me a postcard, send me anything. You're welcome. Now that the radiator is all in, I took it for a drive. I checked it for leaks and didn't find any. I'm really curious how well this thing cools. So, here's your top hose. Okay? Your thermostat opens up and your hot water runs through here. It goes to the top. Alright? And then it's sucked back through the bottom. Alright? Well, this hose gets hot. This side of the tank gets hot. The radiator stays cool. Very cool. This tank, just a little warm. Okay? And I had to really kind of wonder if it was actually working because this side of the tank was that cool. Well, then I shut the engine off, so we're no longer pulling the air through the fan, and you could feel the heat move from here over to the other tank. So apparently, to my surprise, the radiator is cooling that well.